Hello everybody, welcome back to another video on the channel of Missed Football Loons, and today I'm doing Game Week 24 predictions of the Premier League, and they're going to be starting off on the 10th of February. It is at the Etihad Stadium. It is Manchester City versus Everton, and well, it's a 12:30 kickoff, so could there be an upset? Nah, I'm obviously going to say Manchester City. They have no injuries, no unavailable players, they're home. They won 3-1 against Brentford on the comeback. They were 1-0 down, made it 3-1. Phil Foden hat-trick, Haaland's back, everyone's back. Surely this is a win for Manchester City. But I'm not going to say it's going to be a complete thrashing, because Everton did look good against Tottenham Hotspur. And you know what? I feel like they're going to get a couple of set-piece goals in this game. I'm going 3-2 to Manchester City, an exciting 5-goal thriller. Moving on to the next game, it is at the Molineux Stadium. It is Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Brentford. And well, Brentford obviously lost it 3-1 against Manchester City. And that's Manchester City. You can let that game go. Just let it go. And Flecken, the assister king, got himself an assist to Maupay. Ivan Toney kind of shrugged off the other player so the ball could go through to Maupay. Maupay scores again. Ivan Toney didn't, but I'm sure Ivan Toney can score on this game. And you know what? This game looks like a draw, although if there would be a winner, because Wolves are at home and because they're playing sensational, Pedro Neto and Cunha playing fantastic. Cunha, a hat-trick. They won at 4-2 against Chelsea. They're looking really good. They nearly managed to get a point against Manchester United. They're looking very good, Wolverhampton Wanderers. I would say they are the favourites in this game, but for some reason I feel like Brentford, kind of on the bounce back because of Ivan Toney, will get them over the line, at least a point, and because Brentford really do need it. So I'm going to go for a high-scoring 2-2 draw come the final whistle. Moving on to the next game is at Craven Cottage. It is Fulham versus AFC Bournemouth. And well, Fulham hasn't been scoring many this season. They've struggled in that industry. But against Burnley, they did manage to score a couple of goals. But the streak continues that they haven't won at Burnley since 1951. That streak does continue. But they're facing Bournemouth. And Bournemouth are looking good. They have kind of had a bit of a blip up in terms of their form. They no longer have the best form in the Premier League. They managed to get a 1-1 draw against Nottingham Forest. Obviously, no Philip Billing coming into this game, and Fulham at home. And I think my final conclusion of this game is Fulham, they're at home. They tend to not score many, so I'm not going to give Fulham any goals. And Bournemouth, I'm not going to give them any goals either. I feel like Fulham can defensively do enough against Bournemouth, and this game will be goalless. Fulham hardly score, and I feel like they're good enough to at least get a point at home here. And I'm going to go for 0-0 come the final whistle. Moving on to the next game, it is at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It is Tottenham Hotspur versus Brighton and Hove Albion. And you know what? I think this is going to be a massively high-scoring game. Tottenham are scoring goals and goals, especially when Richarlison is starting to score loads of goals. Got a brace in the last game, but only a point against Everton. They're home here. They're facing Brighton and Hove Albion. Brighton, they lost at 4-0 to Luton, then won at 4-1 against Crystal Palace. The one good thing with Brighton is you're always going to have a great show of loads of goals. That's exactly what's going to happen here. I cannot say Tottenham are going to lose it. Brighton, they still lost 4-0 against Luton, and even in the 4-1 win against Crystal Palace, when Crystal Palace did have a few opportunities at goal, it was because of Brighton mistakes. So, I'm going to conclude this game to be a draw overall. Brighton playing attractive football. Tottenham home, Tottenham doing well. It's going to be a lot of goals. I'm going to go for a 6-goal thriller, 3-3 at the final whistle. Moving on to the next game is at Kenworth Road. It is Luton Town versus Sheffield United. Oh, Sheffield United I thought was starting to go in an upward trajectory, but no, they're not. They lost at 5-0 against Aston Villa. Everything that Chris Wilder came in and changed has now been unchanged. They looked absolutely awful. You know what? They looked good against West Ham a couple of games later. I know it's a great Aston Villa side, but there were some basic things in there. They weren't reacting to anything. It was absolutely terrible defensive display. And then they're facing Luton, which won at 4-0 against Brighton, went to St James's Park and managed to get a 4-4 draw. They're scoring goals and goals and goals. I think it's going to be a comfortable win for Luton Town. I'm going 2-0 to Luton Town come the final whistle. Moving on to the next game, it's at Anfield. It's Liverpool versus Burnley. And well, Liverpool, I predicted them to win it 3-1 against Arsenal, but they lost it 3-1, which spices up the title race massively. Their second loss of the entirety of the season. Now Liverpool, what they do fantastically is they can bounce back from a loss really, really good. So when they lose straight away, they're back on form. It doesn't matter. And I think that was just a bit of a blip up. They only had one shot on target. Wasn't a fantastic display. But now they're facing Burnley. Obviously, I'm going to go for Liverpool. They're home. They bounce back well from losses. And they're in the title race. While Burnley is in a relegation battle. And Burnley, obviously, Fofana getting a home debut goal. Home debut of 2 goals, in fact. And obviously, the new right back, Signon, also getting an assist. Some good signs there by Burnley. Be interesting to see if they can keep up that consistency. But they're facing Liverpool. Obviously, like I said earlier, they're going to win it. I'm going 3-1 to Liverpool at the final whistle. Moving on to the next game. It is at the City Ground. It's Nottingham Forest versus Newcastle United. Now, in the reverse fixture earlier on, Nottingham Forest, Chris Wood came up with a hat-trick against Newcastle United. They won at 3-1. But coming here, Newcastle United, I feel like it's changed a bit. They're still in the FA Cup. A fantastic display in terms of defensively in the FA Cup. Does not show against Luton Town because Newcastle's defence was all over the place. Very disjointed. And Dan Burn, obviously, he's not the fastest of players. In fact, I'm going to go to say he is pretty slow. And against Ogbeni, he just could not survive Ogbeni in terms of pace. But if that is so, Newcastle United's defenders need to back him up. And that was not the case. So they conceded 4 goals because of it. But I think their defence has shown that they can play very well. And I feel like eventually the defence is going to come back to reality. And I think they will concede a goal, obviously, because of Newcastle United being very leaky recently. But in conclusion, Newcastle looking really, really good. And I think it's going to be too much for Nottingham Forest. And Newcastle are going to start getting back on form. And it's going to be 2-1 to Newcastle United. Up the Geordies. Moving on to the next game. It's a whole new day. It's the 11th of February. It's a London derby. It's at London Stadium. And it is West Ham United versus Arsenal. This is going to be a very interesting game. But West Ham, they lost it 3-0 against Manchester United. Last 4 games, they've had no wins whatsoever. And when they played Sheffield United, I was like, that's not the West Ham United I know. Especially against last place. They lost it 3-0 against Manchester United. Arsenal won it 3-1 against Liverpool, who were in first. So obviously I'm going to go for Arsenal. But pretty much for the entirety of the season, other than recently when they won at 5-0 against Crystal Palace, Arsenal do keep their results quite tight. So I'm going to go for a very common scoreline and a tight scoreline. I'm going to go 2-1 to Arsenal come the final whistle. Moving on to the next game, it's at Villa Park. It's Aston Villa versus Manchester United. Now in the reverse fixture, Manchester United won it. And Manchester United back-to-back wins. 4-3 win against Wolverhampton Wanderers, but a bit more convincingly, a 3-0 win against West Ham. I think this is Manchester United clicking. Ever since Hodgson got his first goal, he's been scoring. By far, the goal he got against West Ham United was probably his best goal he scored out of the goals in the Premier League. He showed so much confidence, so much composure, so much confidence, struck it really well, and Hodgson is clicking. He's scoring goals. Casemiro's returning, nearly at his, full peak. But there's a disaster. With all that amazing stuff that's happening to Manchester United, Martinez is injured till April. That's a huge loss because he played a good part in that West Ham United game defensively. Obviously, they've still got some good talents. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes, Rashford. I'm going to have to go for a draw. Aston Villa, Ollie Watkins, hat-trick of assists, goal. I cannot split the sides because Manchester United are kind of, coming up. Mainu, also another young talent. Hodgson doing fantastic. It's quite hard to see who's going to win this game. So I'm just going to go down the middle, sit on the fence. I don't know who's going to win this. Both sides are looking pretty good. I'm going 2-2 come the final whistle. Moving on to the next game, it's a whole new day. It's the 12th of February. It's at Selhurst Park. It's Crystal Palace versus Chelsea. Another London derby here. And more Crystal Palace looking like a mess. Elise and Eze completely injured. Elise obviously came on for a bit. Had to come off because he wasn't really ready to come on. But now Elise's injured for a couple of months, I believe. Eze's injured for a few more weeks or couple of weeks. It's not looking good for Crystal Palace. They're all over the place. Even if Chelsea are inconsistent, even if they did play terrible and Pochettino doesn't know their starting 11, which they do not because they've changed the back 4 every weekend it seems. So overall, I am going to go Chelsea just because how bad Crystal Palace are. Doesn't matter that they're at home. I am going to go Chelsea. I'm going to go for a comfortable win for Chelsea. 2-0 to Chelsea come the final whistle. And who is my goal of game week 24? And I know there's a lot of candidates. I'm not going to say them. But I'm going to go for João Pedro's goal against Crystal Palace. It wasn't just because of the first time bullet into the bottom left by João Pedro. It was the 1-2 that really got me. A great 1-2. It was a fantastic goal. So he's going to be my goal of game week 23 there. But how did I do in game week 23? Well, I got 6 points out of a possible 20 points. I didn't get any exact results right, but I did get whether a win, draw, or lose 6 times. And overall, that puts me on 136 points out of 456 points. And like I normally do, as I have done for the last few weeks or so, as I'm going to set a like target. And my like target is 25 likes. I'll be a very happy bunny. 25 likes would be very nice. But hopefully you did enjoy the video. Hopefully you can like and subscribe. And always remember to turn on notifications to notice one of my fantastic YouTube videos. I'll see you next time. Toodle pip now.